I have not been to Minnesota in probably 20 years.
Bring your ass. Welcome to Flagrant Howls, a Minnesota Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.
All right, we got the sports dad in the house, Phil Mackey, and this is Flagrant Howls here to go over some of the highlights from Media Day yesterday, where everyone's in the best shape of their life. Everyone feels great, as they should. No international play for the most part this summer, which I know makes the sports dad very happy.
No huge trade. So
not yet anyway.
The media day, but the media day a year ago, so I want to say the Towns trade to the Knicks came down on a Friday, right? Media day was Monday. If you recall, it wasn't official yet. And so really Tim Conley came in and he's doing his preseason press conference and he can't talk about it. And then the players were, not surprisingly, the players were super weird too. It was like really uncomfortable because I think Ant was sort of like his head was still spinning from it. So that is probably the most unusual, uncomfortable, uninformative media day I've ever seen.
It was wild. They're all trying to dodge, but they're also kind of talking around like they know that the trade's happening. So
yes,
It should be a lot more settled. I know they lost Nickeil Alexander-Walker and they're trying to figure out their second unit, but we're going to get into a bunch of the highlights and react from Wolves Media Day yesterday, presented in part by MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, Judd.
Yep, and if you're thinking about going ductless, call it MSP because they're a Mitsubishi Elite Diamond contractor for ductless, and they are fantastic at what they do. If you have an older home with no ductwork and you're throwing up your hands and saying, "Sports Dad, I can't do it," that's no problem because MSP specializes in smart and efficient ductless installs. These systems aren't cheap, so you want to have it done right. MSP is going to help you make the best decision for your home and for your budget. Quiet, efficient, fantastic. Serving the Twin Cities for more than 100 years. Local, trusted, and committed to your comfort. Give them a call, 651-615-4292, or check out their website, callmsp.com. Call MSP.com and get it done right.
Also, Federated Insurance, longtime partner also of the Timberwolves, but here helping us at Score North over the years. Federated specializes in working with small to medium-sized businesses across the country. They're based in Minnesota, but they work in all 50 states. And so if you're a business owner, if you're a next generation business owner, maybe you just took over your family business, maybe you're a younger business owner and you work in an industry like manufacturing company, retailers and wholesalers, auto services, dealerships, Federated can provide great resources and guidance and protection for your company. Find out more at federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours. Who wants more Timberwolves news? Yes.
That's me, Mr. Mackey. That's
all right.
me.
Well,
more Timberwolves news.
We can deliver that for you. Let's start with Anthony Edwards updates off of yesterday's Wolves Media Day. First of all, guy looks great. He looks cut. He looks happy. He looks like he's ready to maybe take another step. So Tim Conley, and this is a great summary here from Zone Coverage there's a tweet kind of summarizing like the three main points from Tim Conley talking about Anthony Edwards. Mm-hmm. He's become really addicted to the film room this offseason. His work ethic has always been great, but this year was on a whole other level. Love that. Because if you cross-reference this with the to-do list that we here on Flagrant Howls delivered to Anthony Edwards. Listen, don't listen to anyone else. Listen to the sports dad. Listen to me. And we said figuring out how to more quickly and effectively dissect some of these defensive looks, the double teams, the hedges off screens. Like the blitzing that he faces, how do you just take advantage of that stuff in a quicker fashion? So he's been studying film. His body, quote, his body is in unbelievable shape. And just like the sports dad. Yeah.
It's like me. It's great.
There's no questions.
I like this.
And also much like the sports dad, Tim Conley says, quote, "We think he can become one of the greatest of all time."
Yeah.
So, boy, Tim Conley setting these bars for Anthony Edwards. And I don't think it's like some motivational tactic. Sometimes you might get a coach or a front office guy. And I think they've done this with Ant before, where they publicly set a bar to motivate him to get there. And I think maybe there's a little bit of that, but it also feels like Anthony Edwards has a ton of just intrinsic motivation where he wants to conquer the SGAs and the Lucas, et cetera, in the Western Conference.
I feel like I'm good at sort of sussing out, is that the right term? When a guy needs to have his ass kicked, like a talented guy, and it's like, okay, we got to kick his ass again. So let's
Andrew Wiggins.
Exactly. So let's push. I don't think that's the case here. There are some things that Anthony Edwards does that I think that we can definitely question, critique, criticize. But to his credit, I don't think work ethic is ever one. Like like he's never come back soft. He's never come back where it's been like, well, Anthony, he was not seen in the gym all summer long. We don't know what he's doing. So I think what this is I think that Tim Conley is reacting to what he sees, as opposed to saying, we're paying this guy a ton. I have to do more to get more from him. And the film room thing, I absolutely love. I do think that there was, if this makes sense, I do think Anthony Edwards, not surprisingly, previously because of his age, I do think that there was some immaturity in his ability of how to improve. I think there was always a want, but if you don't know about film or heck, I mean, we've heard guys talk about watching film, and until they're taught how to watch it, they're like, I'm just like watching the game. I feel like with Ant, what we're seeing is a progression of a maturing of how to be a pro, and not just be a pro, but be a star. So I guess I'm very complimentary of what I see, not as him being pushed by management or him not having a want to be great, but I think he needed some direction on how to be great. And it feels like every year, the Olympics, which, by the way, just to be clear, Sports Dad signed off on that. That was a good experience for him. I don't like it when old guys go and play for their country and they get beat down. But, when you put Ant around Durant and just an all-star team, and now this year, how do you watch film? I think these are all good signs.
Yeah, I love it too. Actually, I'll bring this one to the table because I think it's a good overarching message from Anthony Edwards about his summer. He said, quote, "Greatness is boring. There was a lot of boring days this summer in the gym, just working on my one dribble pull-ups." And I love this man. Like, he's not out. I'm sure he went on a vacation or something at some point. He's having some fun too. He's a 25-year-old filthy rich NBA superstar. But the fact that the majority of his summer seems to have been spent grinding in the gym and working on his mid-range game, and we'll get to a nugget about that, and watching film and dissecting defenses, I think it's awesome that he isn't looking at back-to-back Western Conference finals. Because if he was looking at back-to-back Western Conference finals and scoring 28 points a game and on a max contract and thinking, you know what, I've made it. My life is pretty damn good. And, if we happen to get a little further, that'd be great. But it's not always easy in the NBA, and guys start to rationalize. He's not. He is clearly, even though he puts on this kind of fun-loving exterior and he's this extroverted personality, there is a fire that clearly burns within him to be even better than he's been so far in the first few years. And I don't think it's fake. I think it's legitimate.
Yeah, I do not get the sense that going to the Western Conference Finals in his mind is some type of achievement. I think it's of course, but we don't get to the finals. And greatness is boring is a great comment. That's an awesome comment because it's 100% right. Like, you're in a gym, probably a lot of times by yourself, working on things, and it's like, I could go out and do something else. I could go to the beach. I don't know, right? But instead, you're working on these mundane tasks when they're done alone, but when they're done with 18,000 people and someone defending you, and now you have found some type of way to be better than your opponent, the reward comes. But I feel like a lot of athletes, including talented ones, and a lot of young athletes in particular, that's probably hard to digest because it's July 6th, right? And you could be out with your friends. You could be out doing something fun. And instead you dedicate yourself to doing something that at the time is like completely mundane. I love that comment. And again, this goes back to, have there been maturity issues with him? 100%. I'm not saying that he hasn't had them. But as far as like what he wants out of basketball, there's a lot more to like than not to like.
Do you think he's got some practice mechanism in place to avoid technicals? Like he's in the gym. He's in the gym alone, and he pays someone at a random time. Just run in and insult me, and I will react as a Zen master.
If I was to, if Sports Dad was to work with him in the gym, show up in the Sports Dad mesh shorts and work with Ant, the one thing that I would say is this, and we talked about it, I think, last week, is, okay, the jump shot improving, the short range, the post up is incredibly important, but this is where you are going to draw fouls. Because this whole thing is, what drives me nuts is, because he's so built, he's so strong, he drives the lane and doesn't get the Shea calls. But look at Shea. Shea's a slight little dude. Like he's not heavy. And so if Shea gets hit, he's a feather. He goes down, and the referees are like, that's a foul. But if Ant finds a way to post guys up, he's going to get fouled. I think they'll call those. So that's what I would say. But yeah, that's a maturity thing too. You're too important here to be getting technicals and suspensions because you feel like you got jobbed, in which, by the way, a league in which a lot of guys get jobbed. It's not just you.
On the post-up thing, so Anthony Edwards said he received advice from Michael Jordan. So there was the report that came out last week that he had been studying tape of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and those 90s, early 2000s vintage post-up fadeaway games.
Yep.
That a lot of players have tried to sort of emulate that. KG was great at it too as a big man. Mm-hmm. But those are not necessarily efficient shots in today's NBA. If you base your game around those shots, it's going to be really hard to hit those at a high enough clip. But I think there's, like, if Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant played in 2025, that would be an element of their game, but it wouldn't be like half of their bag as it was for Jordan the last few years and Kobe, because you got to mix in some more threes. But as an element of his game, when needed, 3 or 4 times a game late, it's the game is bogging down. And so he revealed that he got some personal advice from Michael Jordan about that fadeaway, that little mid-range game. Quote, I think the best tip he gave me is that most people lean on defenders in the post with their ass, and Michael did it with the top part of his back. So I think I learned that little tip from him. And if you think back to and there's been some clips circulating around old school Michael Jordan, and yeah, there's a lot of just iconic. I have family from Chicago, so the Wolves were always my favorite team, but the Bulls were like my Eastern Conference team as a kid. And there's all these clips of like Michael kind of crouched or like leaning back with the ball up by his chest, and he's kind of pushing the defender with his shoulder blades.
Right.
And then from there, he can quick just release off of it. So how will Anthony Edwards deploy some of the things he's been working on studying Michael Jordan and Kobe? I don't want it to dominate his game. Don't stop shooting 10 threes a game at a 40% clip.
Right.
But can he mix it in a little bit when needed?
All right. So here's my question as well, going into the season off of what we saw a year ago. So a year ago in the summer, he worked his ass off on his threes and clearly improved in a huge way. But it felt like the mid-range game regressed. So a very simple question. Can he keep it all together? Can he take the entire packaging instead of just one piece and keep it all together? Because I think that's where he becomes unstoppable. If his mid-range game in 2024-25 hadn't gone backwards a bit, he's that much more effective. So can you hit the 10, or can you take the 10 threes, hit a majority of those, but also then, to your point, Phil, late in games, post a guy up and score that way? Can you put it? Yeah. Can we get it all to fit together in one neat package?
Yeah, because I don't think it's going to be, hey, he's got a little mid-range game and now he's shooting 30% from 3. I don't think that's going to happen, but obviously you would never want to make that sacrifice where the 3-point volume and effectiveness goes down. Yep. There's another thing that he worked on that he revealed, a kind of a minutia portion of his game that's really important, but other anecdotes from Anthony Edwards. Chris Finch has challenged him to become an every night player, not to be disappearing in the first half of a game against a bad team. And Ant has kind of admitted that over the course of 82 games, sometimes he gets bored against the Wizards on a Tuesday night, which that's kind of wild to me that you would, as a professional high-end basketball player, but he's not the first superstar that deals with that. So his goal in some of the lower key games is to hunt for the scoring title. He said that he's going to look to just like set career high in points. I don't know. So hopefully it's not at the detriment of the team. But whatever. Hey, like if he needs to find 10 of these 10 dud games that you're going to play, or you're a little low energy because it's a back-to-back and you're traveling to Utah or something, whatever gets you excited for the next 2.5 hours. If it's I'm going to hunt for a 50-point game, okay, and that helps the Timberwolves win, that's fine.
That is sort of a weird thing, though.
Yeah, it's like I don't know,
because there's a lot of nights. It feels like I mean every player is going to have in an 82-game season off nights for sure, but it feels like they're with Ant for his talent. There are too many of those games, so it's not like because he's not going to play 82 games. Great, don't expect that. But like, can you cut the number of nights that you're not as efficient as you should be down to like a handful? How about that?
He also. Another thing that Chris Finch is challenging him on is just finding some go-to efficient moves at the end of games, those clutch time doldrums that the Wolves ran into. And Ant didn't want to reveal anything, but he said he's been working on a couple things he will unveil when the time comes. So we'll see.
Okay.
And then this one, I love this one too. This is like really in the weeds, but Anthony Edwards said his physical therapist gave him ball handling gloves. Quote, I was always the person that never wanted to work on ball handling because I have a bad low back. And it used to bother me all the time working on ball handling because you're doing all these crouch over drills. And I think that was the best idea he's ever had, to give me these ball handling gloves. We worked on ball handling all summer, and I've never been able to handle the ball this good in my life. So that's always been a little bit of a thing with him, where he gets a little loose with his handle, and there'd be like 1 or 2 times a game where there's an unnecessary turnover or a bobble or something. And it's been on, my personal little Anthony Edwards checklist too, of if you really want to be the best player in the NBA, tightening up that handle. Just Julius Randle could probably use those ball handling gloves too. Maybe we can lend them to Jules for the next few weeks. But I love it.
So this potentially means the improvement of Point Ant, I take it?
Yeah, I mean, hell, like 100%. And by the way, Conley's 38, and we'll get to a nugget about Conley. And Rob Dillingham is not fully trustworthy yet. So in the absence of someone else stepping in there, Bones Highland or someone, you're going to see more Point Ant probably throughout 2026, 25-26.
Yep. I will say this. I did not know that he had a bad lower back. I didn't know that.
I mean, he definitely has like the heating pack on it throughout games. Steve Nash had played 17 years with a bad lower back.
Yeah, okay. That just makes me nervous. I don't like to hear that. I don't like to hear stuff like that.
I don't think it's like being a center in the NFL where you're like leveraging every play, but
good.
There's definitely ways basketball players can heat up their back and play a long career. Steve Nash would literally, like, every time he was out of a game, even in his prime, would lay down in the corner. He wouldn't sit on the bench. He would like lay down with this whole setup. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
all right.
I think that's it for a lot of really good Anthony Edwards nuggets there. So just a lot of good stuff coming out of the summer for him. It's pretty much everything that you would hope would happen with him. Go in the gym, shut the lights off, study, work on your handles, etc.
Shoot in the dark, or do like mindfulness exercises like Phil Jackson used to make his teams do, where they literally had no ball, no lights practices, and you're just like feeling the aura and the energy of the room. Yeah. So, it's the latest Timberwolves news. Before we get to, there's some Julius Randle stuff in here and some other nuggets. Jaylen Clark had a great quote off of Media Day yesterday. Butchering the boar. I hope maybe some team bonding. Anthony Edwards did say that as you look at the main ingredients for teams that are better than the Timberwolves and win championships, being together, being a team, going to each other's camps in the offseason, that he said we still have work to do on just like being more connected. How about a team trip to Butchering the Boar, Judd? That sounds like a fantastic idea. And you know what? It's right down the street. Like it's literally the Wolves could walk there. They could then get a big table, all sit down and talk, and then they're going to be handed a menu. And let me give you some samplings. Charred chicken, the salmon, blackened mahi-mahi, smoked beef, long rib as well. I could go on, and the appetizers are fantastic. In fact, the food is great. And NBA players, football players, or heck, just the normal sports dad and Phil love their food. It's, again, North Loop, Butcher and the Boar, fantastic craft cocktails, fantastic beer selection, and food that is awesome for a date, for an outing, for a birthday, whatever it is. Butcher and the Boar, perfect place to go. The Timberwolves, I know, they've probably been there before, but would love to go back.
That's right. North American Banking Company also powering Flagrant Howls this season. Minnesota-based since 1998, since the heart of the KG era. And I can tell you, in getting to know the team at North American Banking Company over the past year or so, I've noticed a few very obvious things. Friendly, knowledgeable people, safety and security of accounts being something they really value. And they took the time to learn about me, my life, goals, family, and just appreciate the hands-on approach at North American Banking Company. 6 locations in the Twin Cities. You can find out more at nabankco.com/Mackey. That's nabankco.com/Mackey. Member FDIC, equal housing lender, and also Green Mill Pizza. Green Mill Pizza, it's the iconic Green Mill restaurant brand that most Minnesotans have been familiar with for a number of years. And you can now get their tavern-style pizza and also soft breadsticks and sauces at the grocery store, inside the freezer section, where you'll find Extreme Supreme, Il Primo, hand-tossed pepperoni, meat lovers. Bake these restaurant-style pizzas to golden brown perfection. Cut them into squares, if you like, in your own oven, in your own home. Learn more at greenmillfoods.com. Latest Timberwolves news. Julius Randle sat down with The Athletic, actually before Media Day. It was a few days ago. And he's just in a much different spot than he was a year ago when he was traded from New York. So his last year with the Knicks, even the last couple of years, I think his second to last year, they had won a playoff series, but he was like 35 or 37% from the field and kind of struggling. Mm-hmm. And then he got hurt his last year in New York, and the team kind of took off without him, and Jalen Brunson became the centerpiece and the star of the team, and they had all this success without Julius Randle, and fans were already kind of poking at him over the years.
Right.
And from this Athletic article, the isolation and the narrative of his last year in New York took him to a dark place. He self-medicated with marijuana. He withdrew from those around him. Depression, anger, and anxiety started to suffocate Julius Randle. Quote from Julius, at the end of that time in New York, I was kind of at my darkest moment, just miserable, like in a way where I was not having any fun going to work every single day. Mm-hmm. There were strains on both work and at home. He would return to the apartment from rehabbing his shoulder to retreat to a private room away from his family, wallowing in his own misery. Quote, I would just be in there watching TV in a dark room. I didn't even want to show my face. I kind of just wanted to be left alone in hiding, just very frustrated, very angry, all these different emotions. It wasn't a good place to be in. And now it just feels very settled here a year later. I would say even this summer and leading up to the season is probably the happiest I've been in a really long time as far as my career, family, and everything.
Interesting. So this was at his end of the time with the Knicks then?
Yes.
Right? Not the trade itself. That is intriguing. Now, like, just aside from that, which sounds brutal, I think it's fair to say as well that everyone involved in that trade is probably at some sort of peace now compared to they were literally uprooted on the eve of training camp. So like the struggles that Julius had, that Dante had, didn't surprise me. But that's a really dark place, and it seems like it would have helped him and did ultimately to be dealt here. So that's great. But I'm very curious now to see not just Julius, but Dante as well. I'm very curious now to see with a full year here coming into training camp and things are set, what those two can do. And Julius, once he came back from the injury, played pretty damn well a lot of the time. I'm more curious about Dante because DiVincenzo, to go back to our conversations, his year with the Knicks, he was really, really good. There was some of that, but not enough. I think he's the guy that has an even greater chance to step up and show us the Dante DiVincenzo that we saw with the Knicks before last season.
Yeah. And I'll give you a DiVincenzo health update here in just a second, but just to put a bow on the Julius part of the conversation, it really you could tell that it wasn't like the trade unlocked this heaviness that he had felt. He got traded, was probably happy to be somewhere else, but also wasn't sure because it's the last year of his contract. And him and his wife said that they didn't even unpack a lot of the boxes at their place in the Twin Cities because they weren't sure. And hell, we sat on this show for the first 2 or 3 months of the season when it looked clunky, and him and Gobert were clearly not seeing eye to eye on the court, and it felt like Julius's vibes were off from the rest of the team. And so it felt like they had to trade him for something before his contract expired. So everything was pointing from the outside. They're probably going to trade him before the deadline, and this is like part 2. They're going to flip him for some value or something. Mm-hmm. But then something clicked, man. Like once he came back, they decided not to trade him, and he came back from that injury, the hamstring or whatever it was. He was out for a few weeks. And he went from, and some of this was Finch and the team realizing that they needed something different. He went from being a guy that was kind of in score mode all the time, and just the team would kind of go through their things, and then all of a sudden it'd be Julius's turn. And it just didn't, it was like he was playing a different song from the rest of the band. And he became more of a facilitator down the stretch who could also score and played really well in a couple of those playoff series too. So the second half of the season, he fit in chemistry-wise. He fit in as a player. And I'm really curious to see how that evolves going into this season because Kat and Rudy had a really hard time gelling their first year, and there was some obvious tension with Gobert.
Yeah.
And then the second year, it all clicked from the get-go, and and then they went on to win like 60 games or almost 60 games in the regular season. So does it click immediately and they hit the ground running, kind of like year 2 of Gobert with Karl Anthony Towns? I'm curious to see that.
If I'm not mistaken, too, I believe when Julius was out, that he had a conversation early in the time that he missed. I think it was with Mike Conley, who again, off the court does a ton. And I think it was Conley who basically said, settle down and watch this and see how you fit in. And so he came back, and that's what he did. He fit in really, really well. I mean, it's weird to say, but I think the Julius injury might have saved him here. Like as far as, okay, there's a path for him to be happy, and for the Timberwolves to now have a player who, to what you were saying, Phil, benefits them as opposed to go, because you're right. Julius would get the ball, and it would sort of be like, okay, clear out. It's Julius. I'm going to shoot.
It's Julius time. Solo. Yeah.
And they're like, no, that's not how this works. So I do think that timeout was probably one of the crucial things in him getting a path to stay here and be productive here.
Yep. I think there was a story too that his agent had told him when he was injured, like, dude, just be a little more engaged and just try to be friends with people or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's clearly an introspective, more introverted, natural personality. He's probably just, it takes him a little bit to trust and to feel like he's part of something, but he clearly is. And Anthony Edwards has done a good job as the leader of the team, bringing him in. So on DiVincenzo, so he missed time last year with that turf toe, and he played the rest of the season with a plate in his shoe when he returned. And then over the summer, there was some concern because he withdrew from the Italian national team as a precaution, his camp is saying. He said yesterday he's 110% ready to go for the season. Quote, I had the option to get surgery. I elected not to. Surgery would have put me out, I think, 5 or 6 months. And we put a plate in the shoe to restrict the mobility of my toe because now the season ended. I pulled the plate out of my shoe. I want to get back to being my normal self. So it's all precautionary. There's nothing to worry about to start the season. So I can't tell if he's like playing with a plate in his shoe or not. Makes me a little nervous when athletes have the option to get surgery and then they elect not to, and everything's fine now.
Yeah, I'm great. No, not.
So that's clearly something. He's optimistic, but that's clearly something to keep an eye on, right?
So a plate is akin to an orthotic then, right?
I think
some type of orthotic, like because I think of like a steel, like some type of steel plate, but I'm sure it's some type of thing.
It's like brace your toe. Yeah.
He becomes, though, in my opinion, in 2025-26, Dante DiVincenzo becomes the potential key to why that was a good trade. Because if he can start to play like he did a couple of years ago with the Knicks, that trade, to me, I think suddenly looks really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah, he showed flashes of it. In the playoffs, he was borderline unplayable at times, just in terms of his on-court impact or negative impact, I guess. But you saw some flashes. He is an excellent spot-up three-point shooter, and they're really going to need that from him because Nickeil Alexander-Walker was one of your best three-point shooters and corner three-point shooters last year. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they want to stick Jaden McDaniels in the corners as often, or if they do, he's hopefully going to take the ball out and just be active with it. But you really need DiVincenzo to be. Now, by the end of the year, he was shooting 40% on 7 attempts per game. But the first 2 months, it was like really, really inconsistent and inefficient.
Yep.
And he's going to have some streakiness to him. But the other thing is, again, like they don't have someone that you fully trust as a point guard in bulk, because Mike Conley's probably going to start the season, but he's not going to play 30 minutes or even maybe 20 minutes. If Dillingham takes a step, boom, problem solved.
Right.
But they were trying DiVincenzo as a point guard in some of those lineups, and he's not the greatest ball handler, but like what does his I'd love for him to be off ball, just hunting for threes and being a pest, but we'll have to see what that looks like to start the season.
But if Ant's gloves help him, then that becomes a little bit less of a problem. I do not think you're going to get, and I might be wrong, I don't think you're going to maximize what you want from DiVincenzo if he has to bring the ball up the floor.
Yeah, him roaming around, coming off screens, getting open, catch and shoot threes feels like the sweet spot for his game.
Agreed.
Anybody got any Timberwolves news?
Got some more for you. That's right. One of the main focuses from Chris Finch yesterday, Wolves defense without Rudy Gobert. What does that look like? Can it be better? When Rudy was on the court last year, even a diminished version of Rudy, he's definitely past his prime. His rebounding percentages have gone down. His shot blocking has gone down. And he's like in his mid-30s now, so he's not going to be the same guy he was when he was 26 or even when the Wolves acquired him when he was 29, I think, 30. Mm-hmm. But when he was on the court, even a diminished version of Gobert, the Wolves had the third best defensive rating in the NBA last year. When he was off the court, the Wolves had the 18th ranked defensive rating in the NBA. So how can they be better without Rudy Gobert on the floor defensively? Naz Reid actually kind of raised his hand and said, a lot of it's on me because I'm out there a lot coming off the bench with that second unit without Gobert. And I need to be better at just navigating through screens and different matchups. I would also add to that, just my own personal opinion, I think the combination of TJ Shannon and Jaylen Clark, those guys speaking yesterday, very much aware that defense is going to be a huge priority. You're not just out there. I mean, Jaylen Clark was drafted in the second round because of defense. He was the defensive player of the year in college. And then early in the season, it's probably too early to expect Yohan Beranger to contribute, but that's a 7-foot great athlete that you drafted in the first round that can block shot. He blocked like 3 shots in the first minute of his first summer league game back in July. So could he be deployed a little bit? And Jaylen Clark, I'll give you the quote from him. How can he find increased minutes? He said, quote, I think if I shoot 40% from 3 and guard the best player every night, I will be out there quite a bit.
Yeah, that would do it.
Yep.
I mean, I love that kid's game. As far as defensively, he's a complete pest. He's really good. The thing that really impressed me about him a year ago, so he signed with the Wolves coming off a knee injury, didn't play at all in what would have been his rookie season, and then got some playing time, although limited last year. What really impressed me, though, is he's a guy that you watch play, and I'm not saying he's perfect, but he didn't look like a rookie.
Yeah.
He looked like he belonged. And his confidence on defense to me was absolutely great. Like, if that translates now to a second year, you are looking at a guy that's going to cause some real problems for opponents.
Yeah. He's also just jacked, man. Like he's had a good physique, but he's up there, man, yesterday. And he's clearly bulked up a little bit, put some work in the weight room. Oh, here's one more Jaylen Clark nugget from Dane Moore. He mentioned to the assembled media that he spent time throughout the summer watching NFL defensive tape. NFL defensive tape. And he singled out Patrick Surtain, the Broncos cornerback, as an example of just he's looking at how NFL cornerbacks stick with receivers running routes in a one-on-one fashion. The oily hips.
Yeah. Well, and it's plaster coverage, right? Like we're talking plaster coverage.
Football.
Damn right we are.
Yeah. Well, and if you think about how, so let's just take this and have some fun with it. When you think about how he defends guys, in your mind, go back and look and think about a mental image of Clark defending guys. He does have some football-y technique. Like he gets into them. He's low, so he doesn't foul them.
Yeah.
Like it's not his defensive strategy. I think is really pretty refined for his age.
He also he jumps routes too. Like how many times is he picking someone's pocket off an inbound pass in his young career?
Jumps routes.
He's Van Ginkling people. And then just one more. There's plenty more where this came from.
This is juicy.
We're going to hit the ground running here over the next few weeks with more Flagrant Howls episodes. But one more thing on Mike Conley.
Hey, Phil, is that Timberwolves news I see?
Yeah.
He's 71 now, right?
He just turned 72, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Mike.
On October 11th is when he turned 72.
Okay.
But last season, Mike Conley was dealing with some different health issues, a wrist injury throughout the offseason, and some of that hampered his ability to work out in the offseason and contributed to a slow start. He couldn't hit a three to save his life early in the season.
Right.
But Conley said he was able to have a typical offseason this summer from, I think this is from the Star Tribune. They were all there. All those guys were there. So
yeah, it's a general free
from
for
everyone. Completely different summer, Conley said. And he turns, by the way, 38 on October 11th, for those keeping track.
That's right.
More of what I'm used to in the summer, being able to work out every day. As soon as we got out of the playoffs, I was back just being able to get into my routines, schedule everything out like I normally do. I feel right on schedule for training camp and in shape, ready to go. So it was a breath of fresh air to be able to work again and shoot basketballs and do all that stuff that I wasn't able to do the summer before. So I guess good news, bad news here. Good news, Conley feels way better than he did a year ago, and he's hopefully going to hit the ground running more than he did last year. The bad news is when you're 38 in professional sports, injuries happen, attrition happens, your body breaks down. So I don't think this means that you're just turning back the clock 5 years on him, but if he can give you a little juice, 18, 20 minutes of juice, and now you're only trying to figure out 30 minutes on the other end of that with Dillingham or Point Ant or DiVincenzo, then okay. If you go from limited Conley to like no Conley, that creates a huge problem for this team. So if he can give you just some 18 veteran minutes, start 5 minutes, come out of the game, okay, that builds a bridge to whatever is next.
Wouldn't you like a guy to show up just one time and say, I'm so old.
Guys, I actually put on 12 pounds. Oh my God.
Do I feel good? Do you feel good? Because I don't feel that good.
Look at this. Look at my foot. Is this gout? What's happening here?
Come here.
Jace, Chris, hi, come here.
What is wrong with me? I don't know. I mean, I'm 38 years old. Why would I feel good? Today, my hip broke. Or at least I heard a creak, I think.
There's a ringing in my ear. I don't know. It started back in like June.
Do any of you guys know a doctor?
Seasonal allergies are just killing me these days. I never had them when I was 25.
I need a family doctor here. Who's got a suggestion?
I love Timberwolves news.
So do we, Judd. But we do have to run here.
Okay.
That's a wrap on this episode of Flagrant Howls. And if you haven't already, maybe you're just diving back in for a new upcoming season here. Click that like button and the subscribe button on the brand new Flagrant Howls YouTube channel that we just launched like 3 months ago. Right around the end of the season and before like off-season reckless speculation. So thank you guys, and we will see you again soon here on your favorite Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.